Right now, more people are finishing university than ever before, but there are fewer level entry roles waiting for them.
So competition is just really extreme right now. And it's not because people aren't capable. It's just like Catherine said, there's fewer roles available.
Yeah. And when early career roles disappear, the pressure shifts fast. People feel they need to be ready from day one. And even when there are fewer chances to learn, because there's fewer chances to practice the skills.
Exactly. So today we wanted to bring different voices into this conversation. So we're joined here by Lewis, who's the founder and CEO of Bentley Lewis, an executive search firm and talent advisory.
Brilliant. And we are also joined by Mupaka and Lauryn as well, who are early in their career and living this from a candidate experience.
Yeah. So this conversation isn't about blaming or anything like that. It's really about understanding what's changed and what do leadership need to do differently.
Yeah. And when leaders think about early career talent right now, what do they think they worry most about, Camilla?
I think they're probably worried about making the wrong investment. I mean, cost and time and effort is really there's a lot of focus on that right now. And there's also an element of risk in it. So what if we bet on the wrong talent? And how do we kind of manage that?
Yeah, absolutely. As well. And then there's also what leaders are not seeing yet, but what they should be seeing when we get rid of these early career level entry roles is the long-term impact of this as well. So there are fewer chances to build really critical skills like confidence, like problem-solving skills and judgment skills. And then when leaders need those mid-level roles at one point and everyone hasn't invested in them as a whole, then we don't have any talent pool or anyone to go from there because there's no talent available that has those skills.
Exactly. That's kind of sad to think about.
Yeah.
It is. But I mean, a question for you, Lewis. So when young candidates kind of struggle to get to interviews, or even like if they're lucky to get to interviews and then they don't get the offers, like what are companies doing or not doing that makes it harder for them?
I think the state of play, just to maybe set the scene, is quite interesting because a lot of us think of it like it used to be.
Yeah.
You know, like it's changed. And we're thinking of it from when we were like going to university, getting our first jobs. So a lot of graduate jobs, like typically like lawyers, accountants, things like that. I mean, that is reducing massively. AI, all of those kind of things. A lot of companies have been reducing their headcount and all this stuff. So I think you have to almost reimagine like what you are expecting when you go into the workforce. There's loads and loads of people that are choosing to go for like smaller companies. A lot of these big firms are not hiring as many. There's loads of small and mid-sized firms that do hire. You've hired these two lovely ladies to do to do some work. You know, like there's lots of other jobs around, and it's not you don't have to go for the traditional big company stuff. So I would say that. The other thing also is there are lots of jobs around. And so forget like some of these white collar jobs. Like the jobs in highest demand in the UK and in the US are like plumbers, electricians, carpenters, engineers, mechanics. Jobs that like
that AI doesn't necessarily take.
AI is not changing that, right? And it's also like they're not like the coolest jobs. They've always been looked down upon a little bit, right?
For much longer.
Not for much longer.
No.
Ford are trying to hire mechanics and paying them $160,000 a year in America, and they can't find anyone. So I think for me, reimagine, like look at the problem differently, and reimagine, like if you're an individual, what can you do? If you're trying to hire now, again, you really think through like what you're looking for. And I just go back to the human stuff, EQ.
Yeah.
You know, like lots of people have gone to university, lots of people got good degrees, lots of people have got good A-levels, GCSEs, or wherever you've been educated in the world. So your main difference is the human stuff, your ability to communicate, build relationships, have conversations. That's going to land you the job. And then, and I know people don't like to hear this, but your network is so super important.
Yeah.
And so be really good when you're young and networking and speaking to people and contacting people and all of that kind of stuff. And don't listen to all the rubbish on TikTok and social media and all of that. Because a lot of people come out like feeling entitled and deserving this and deserving that. And there's lots of really amazing young folks that I see do really well, and they go hard on learning, hard on building relationships. When they get the opportunity, they just go all in.
Yeah, funnily enough, exactly that was Lauryn and I talked about yesterday in a conversation, wasn't it? We talked about how important actually it is to engage your network early on and be really intentional as well of how you build it and who you want to connect to.
Yeah.
And how you use that connection.
Yeah. So throughout your whole, it's like long-term investing versus day trading. When you're like, even like when you get your first job at like 16 or whatever it is, just like do the best you can and learn and stay in touch. And you just build that and you build it and you build good habits and you choose like great leaders that give a good example. I learned so much from my early bosses about how to behave, interact, have like a business lunch or, just all of that kind of etiquette.
Business etiquette stuff,
Yeah.
which is really, really important, right? So I guess, Lauryn, so when you look at the job market right now, like what feels hardest or what's most uncertain?
Yeah, I think at the minute it's the whole thing of it's not just a degree that you need to get a job, it's all of the other additional experience that you need. And actually that's quite hard to get the experience because a lot of the time you need experience to get a job.
Yeah.
So you kind of get stuck in this cycle. So I think that's really quite tricky at the minute. So trying to get your foot in the door and, as you said, using the connections and not being scared to use the connections as well. I think that's quite an important thing.
It's often not what you know, but who you know.
Exactly.
And yeah, so it's important to remember that even when it feels awkward to ask people to connect without this feeling like, oh, this is only one-sided.
Yeah, completely that.
Yeah. Mupaka, a question for you. How do you feel pressure? Do you have pressure to prove yourself very quickly as you go in the job market? And then also, what does that pressure feel like in reality?
I actually do feel pressure, and I will apply pressure as well because I want to be the best. And I think along the way you have imposter syndrome. You start to ask yourself, am I really doing what I need to be doing, or is this meant for me? So yeah, the pressure is there.
Yeah.
The pressure is there. And also because you've been given the opportunity and you know how bad the job market is, so you don't want to lose that opportunity. You want to utilize it to the fullest. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you're explaining kind of, the difficulty of getting that job and then the pressure when you get that job. So what is it that you hope that leaders kind of understood better about being early in your career?
I think to begin with, I think even leaders were started somewhere, and I don't think I think it was easier for them then because I was way back, and
Yeah.
I think they forget that because of automation. They forget that as well, and they just expect you to have everything. So I think they need to have more empathy or kind of understand that this is also a graduate. This is someone who's just starting off. They need time. They need patience, and I think Lewis mentioned this earlier. You need someone who's willing to learn. So I think that's something as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's an attitude piece. And I think what also is what we shouldn't forget is the unique ability that you bring as well, because you are born in the digital world. You can navigate it, you can learn and adapt quite quickly compared to a lot of our generation. And I think that is a skill as well that can be really, really helpful as a change and the job requirements changes so quickly.
I'd also say like it's quite easy to get into this this narrative of it's really hard. It's harder now than it was. And I don't think it's helpful, because you start believing it. And if you think it's really hard and everything's so difficult, it's going to be, is it any different? I mean, like now is now. This is your reality, You've gone to university, you're going to graduate, you're going to get a job, and you will get a job. But I think for me, like this, the other like point to it is there's so many opportunities. And sometimes we just don't know what they are yet. And the thing with coming out of university is you can literally do anything. I did chemistry at university. And then I set up a fashion distribution company and I worked in manufacturing. And then I went into recruiting and then I set up my own business.
That is very cultural though.
all of my friends became accountants or lawyers or doctors. You know, it was, maybe it's cultural, like also family and stuff.
Yeah, no, but it's also. So I always admired that about the UK, but I started out obviously studying in Germany, and what you studied, you basically did. It was very hard. So I studied originally marketing, statistic, and a little bit of HR. For me to get an HR role was really, really difficult because everyone saw my CV, said like, oh, she studied marketing, she's applying for marketing jobs. But here in the UK, it was always a little bit easier to kind of like cross references. So it's really, really interesting.
Yeah.
Might have changed now in the last
No,
20 years.
No, it doesn't matter what you do here,
Yeah.
unless you want to be a doctor or an
Yeah, of course.
architect, something like that. But you know, if you've gone to uni and you don't quite know what you want to do, it's also fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to know what you want to do for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
I only got into this in my mid to late 20s. So I think it's like you have to, for me, like 20s is about trying different things. You might go and try marketing. You might not like it. You might like it. You might try something else. You might go into learning and development. You might like just let yourself try stuff and collect experiences.
Yeah.
And then you start to build, it's like little chapters.
So, Lewis, you mentioned kind of what type of roles that had been impacted on AI and alluded to, you know, what roles have not, and that there's opening up new opportunities with AI. So what advice would you give them in terms of like, how do they, if they want to do something that's slightly on the side of what they've studied or just what they've studied, like what do they do? Where do they start?
Yeah, I would look for the human you're working for versus the job. Like go find just awesome people to work with. Honestly, your 20s, think you're going to be working. Don't want to depress everyone. You're going to be working. I mean, you might not even ever retire, but you know, we're working well into our 60s and 70s probably. So imagine that you've got so long. So you don't have to, you know, your 20s, you can just go learn stuff. And then Lauryn in her 30s is going to be better than her 20s. And then in your 40s, just building and you're building. So I think just let yourself learn stuff and don't, unless you really want to follow a career path, like if you want to be a lawyer or accountant, then obviously you've got to go and do that. But if you're not quite sure and you want to try things, and just give yourself permission to. It is quite hard. And your parents would be like, what are you doing? But pay them no minds and go and collect experiences and find really good people to work with. Honestly, I think
I love that kind of like collecting experience and collecting learning. And yesterday we were meeting an ex-colleague and friend of ours, and she said like, if I'm leaving a job when I'm bored, when I can't learn anything anymore, and that's always how I see it. I left jobs when I feel like it doesn't give me any added value.
Yeah.
But then you need to get the job, right? And you said like, you know, look at the human and not the role, but then you also need to talk to a human. So, I mean, we talked about the recruitment processes today, and I can one of you share what we talked about the other day in today's recruitment process, because I find that really interesting. Yeah.
And fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I through my university degree, I did a placement year last year, and some of my placement application processes, I was on the 4th stage of an application process with 0 human interaction at that point. It'd all been automated by AI, and I actually decided to withdraw my application at that point because those values didn't align with what I wanted as a kind of an early candidate experience for me. So I think it's a lot harder in interviews now at an early stage to get your personality across and who you are, because you don't have that face-to-face human interaction with other people. It's all online. It's all based off of an assessment where you get a score and maybe a competency. Yeah, that's a really interesting.
And this, to your point, Lewis, that it's harder to find a great person that you want to work for if you're in the recruiting process. By step 5, have you met in person?
Yeah. But this is big companies though, right?
Yes, completely.
Go for SMEs. The human is, all these big firms, right? You know, they automate everything. They'll advertise on LinkedIn. They've got AI sifting through the applications. LinkedIn have just released this LinkedIn agent. Yeah. So it's like £2,000 a year, and like recruitment teams and search firms that can buy it. They'll advertise, all the applications will go through the AI. They'll screen them. They'll send you a video interview and the whole thing. And if that isn't your vibe, then just choose to. Yeah. 80% of people in the UK work for SMEs. Like most people work for SMEs, and it's way nicer. You've probably learned way more from working with these two than you probably would have done in a year working in some massive. So not that I'm completely anti big firms, but if it's not your vibe, then just, there's other options.
But especially in the beginning of your
Yeah.
I think a lot of people and I did that myself. I worked actually in the beginning of my career for a slightly smaller company. They were part of a bigger network, but I actually got more experiences because it was not big processes, not big procedures, and not so much divided between who's doing what.
Yeah. And you can always get into it. Like, so, there's a lot of value for working in big companies as well. It's kind of, but you can like kind of, they call it like a crab career. You can kind of like, you collect some experience here and you go here to move up, and then maybe you have to go here and then there. Like, so the traditional career ladder is kind of falling apart.
Yeah.
And we have people that are advising young folks to follow a career path that maybe existed 20 years ago. It might not exist now.
Yeah. And it's quite interesting. Lewis, what small changes could companies actually do to kind of like change some of the experience?
I think the train's left the station. I mean, I'd be very surprised if like big firms don't continue to automate their recruiting. And McKinsey have 1 million applications a year. I mean, a human can't go through them.
But how much are they missing out?
Massively. They'll miss out on these two, maybe. Like they'll miss out on people.
Yeah. But do they care?
Well, that's it. 1 million applications. Do they care? Do they not?
Well, I would rephrase, do they care to, do they have an option, right?
Yeah.
Because if you sift to 1 million candidates, they might end up with 2 wonderful candidates in the end. Yes, they might have missed out on some great ones, but what's the option?
Well, do you know what? I like to stack the game in my favor. Right? You want to play a game, you're going to win. And honestly, if you happen to know, let's use McKinsey as an example, if you happen to know the hiring manager because someone's introduced you or you've worked with them before something, it de-risks the hire completely for them.
Yeah, completely.
And you won't even have to go through all this. But I know Lauryn, she's great, let's get her in. And that happens loads, right? In big firms. You don't even bother. Thank goodness I haven't got to advertise, And so you can stack the game in your favor by doing all these little things, and it might pay back now, might pay back in 5 years' time. So I think you can do that. As a big firm, I mean, I think it's only going one way. AI and all of this. But if you're a hiring manager in a big firm, you still have some ability to go and hire people that you might know.
And I mean, Lauryn, Lewis is giving some really good practical advice. But if you were to give advice to someone in your situation about to finish uni that feels kind of stuck or discouraged, what would you tell them?
So first things first, I'd say to utilize all of the university resources before you leave. 9 times out of 10, universities have career advisors that are happy to look over your CV, do mock interviews with you, actually help you with your application for jobs. So utilize those resources before you go. And the next thing is start skilling yourself, start doing LinkedIn Learning or just free online courses, attending webinars, learn about the career you want to go into, because then you have something to talk about in an interview and you have that experience rather than just having your degree to talk about. You need that experience and knowledge. So definitely those two.
Yeah. And I love what you're pointing out about experiences, because a relevant experience doesn't need to be a paid job, right? It can be experiences that you've done through helping a friend or that you've done unpaid internships. I mean, it can be other things.
It can be also the first leadership experience are actually already collected when you are leading a group of girls at, is it called Beavers or here?
That's that.
We don't have these in Germany, but these are like voluntary experiences already, right? Where you don't get paid, but you get those experience, and you can talk about this in interviews and in.
And don't be too precious. Like, just do everything. Work at a coffee shop, work in a restaurant, work in retail. Just like have stuff, do stuff, collect experiences. You have so much more to talk about.
And it helps you build that business etiquette that we talked about earlier, right?
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yes.
not just learning.
Being in retail or working as a waiter or waitress sets you up for like life.
Any kind of customer service role.
I started out my career at McDonald's in the 90s. I was leading a shift by the end. When I was 16, it was my first leadership role.
Yeah.
I mean, I still use some of the stuff that I learned at the McDonald's Hamburger University. No, I'm not joking. Like, it was really good. But I mean, it's tough to keep going, right? It's tough to keep going when things feel difficult. So, Mupaka, do you have anything to share with people on kind of what's one thing that helped you kind of keep going?
So one thing, okay, I think surrounding yourself with people who are equally minded, that keeps you on the same page, because I think today you see a lot of people doing different things and you might want to get distracted, but stay focused.
Yeah.
So yeah, stay focused and be confident in yourself. Like, have so much confidence in yourself. I just tell myself, like, if someone rejects me, they never deserved me. So
I love that.
I love that.
Love that.
I love that.
Yeah. And also, I like there's this notion that especially women, if they don't see everything fits on their job description, they don't go as easily for it as men. But on a job description, you don't have to do anything, everything. You can learn some of it, and therefore still go for it and sell why your skills are transferable. And it comes back to also some attitude, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. And your personal brand, right?
Yeah, yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
And also how your pitch.
Yeah, well, what you pitch, what you say, how comfortable you are. Also, cleanse your LinkedIn, cleanse your TikTok algorithm if it's like super negative. You know, like jump on.
Oh, I love that. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to do like so whatever, everyone's algorithm is a bit different, right? And if you're like looking for jobs and this and that, and your algorithm can start getting quite negative, but it's really difficult. There's no jobs for grads. Cleanse all that. Go for some positivity. Changes your mindset, because like having good people around you.
Yeah.
You also want to have like good stuff on your
Social media.
yeah.
Like we spend so much time on these things, so we want to have it full of positivity and can do and let's do this thing.
So go to the search bar and search like rainbows and whatever, just like some positive stuff, dogs, things like that, but motivational stuff and positive things, and it does start to like give you a slightly different perspective.
I love that.
Yeah.
Since you're on such a positive note, what gives you hope about the market right now?
I'm
question.
wide optimistic. I mean, look, with AI stuff, there's a lot of like doomsday sayers, and there's a lot of folks that think it's going to be the best thing ever. So I choose to think like this. I mean, honestly, I think I'm on a surfboard right now the last few years. So you're just kind of like surfing, these waves are coming. It's very difficult to long-term plan. Things change so quickly. So I just do what I can control.
Yeah. What's inside and out.
Sleep, eat, exercise, community, have really good people around me. For business, I do content. I choose who I surround myself with. I choose which clients I want to work with, and all of these kind of things. And all the other stuff, what can you do?
Focus on what you can control.
Yeah.
Like the others.
Shut out the noise.
Yeah.
And Lauryn, what still worries you about the market?
I think as somebody that hasn't graduated yet, and AI is moving so quickly, it is taking over the kind of traditional early career jobs at a startup because of the automation of them. So maybe that, and the uncertainty of it, not knowing what it's going to look like post-graduation. But I think that's when it comes into the really importance of having those transferable skills and experience and experiencing things like this and give me things to talk about in interviews and future opportunities. So
I think it also, just to add, it will prepare you for your whole career, because like we're quite used to being like people have a job for life and you're in this career. Suddenly already you're thinking about transitioning and this different careers, collecting experiences. It's probably always going to be like that.
yeah.
And it kind of, I think it makes you quite resilient.
Yeah, completely.
Like that. Lewis, one last question. If leaders listening right now, what would be one takeaway from this episode?
Give someone a chance, send the elevator back down, so to speak. People are hiring grads. People do want people early on in their career. So give people a chance, have conversations with people. You never quite know what they're going to be like. And don't rely only on AI to select all of your stuff. if you're in a, if you're in a big firm.
Mupaka, one question for you, and then we're rounding this up. What's one thing you wish leaders would start doing or stop doing right now?
I think empathy, checking on people. I think, and even feedback along the way. That is something that helps me. Like if I'm doing something wrong, I know some leaders will be quick to fire someone, but if the person is willing to learn, going along the way and teaching them how to go about it correctly and everything.
I think especially in the beginning of your career, it's throughout important, but especially in the beginning where you're still learning curve is much bigger. Feedback is invaluable for your own progress. Brilliant.
Love that. It was so nice to have all of you here, and it's such an interesting and important topic. So that's actually it for today's episode of the Leadership Effect. Subscribe, follow us on LinkedIn, and you'll find the details in the show notes. Until then,
Lead with curiosity
and courage.